2 years ago, I tested the Heybike City Run, and that served as my preferred commuting bike for a couple of months. Heybike recently reached out again with an opportunity to test out a new folding fat tire e-bike. These are quite popular today, and I'm sharing my feedback on a week riding this model since there are some serious Black Friday specials out there for you to consider if you're looking for a solid bike for a holiday gift. And I wanted to get that information out, and a week with this bike is enough for me to make some judgments. Hello everybody, this is Matthew Miller, otherwise known as Palm Solo, and thanks for watching the Mobile with Matt YouTube channel. I appreciate your views and your support. The folks at Heybike must remember that orange is one of my favorite colors, since I tested the orange City Run bike, and now I have the pumpkin orange Mars 2.0 for testing. The box was pretty beat up upon arrival, with nearly the entire bottom of it opened up. But as you can see in my unboxing, everything was intact and in good condition for the most part. There were some scratches on the rear cargo rack, and the Shimano gear was a little bit goofed up, but was able to be usable for the testing. The Heybike Mars 2.0 arrived in a fairly small, short cardboard box. It was easy to pull the bike out, and as you can see, it's in that vibrant pumpkin orange color. Came with all the tools you need, the front wheel and everything else, and I started out by putting on those front handlebars, which took a little bit of effort because of that front post. Then of course the front wheel goes on, and that was pretty easy, but the difficulty was putting that front fender and light on with that same single bolt, and trying to maneuver two tools at once took a bit of time. It was pretty easy once I got that all hooked up and ready to go, finalize the handlebar adjustment, put in the seat, attach those pedals, and then I had to attach the rear rack after putting in the battery. The rear rack is used by 4 small bolts that have to be unsecured and then put on the rack and then secure that. It's supposed to be 120 pound. So now that I have the bike unboxed and it's all set up, let's get started with some specifications. The bike is made with a 6061 aluminum frame. It weighs in at 75 pounds. And as you can see, there is a handle here in the center that lifts it pretty evenly with one hand, although, as I mentioned, it is 75 pounds, but it's very accessible with that nice handle. It does have a 330 pound load capacity, which is good for me because I'm 235, so I've got about 100 pounds of gear that I can carry with me. Heybike states that this rear rack is capable of 120 pounds. This is attached, as you saw in the unboxing, with 4 bolts, 4 screws in the back. So I'm not quite sure if that 120 pound capacity is valid or not, but I didn't have anything to test that out, and I'll talk about that rear cargo rack here in a little bit. Looking a little bit closer at this rear cargo rack, it's pretty interesting because it has a pegboard design that you could use to attach certain accessories to it, or even metallic stuff that would sit to it, along with the rear top rack that has some bars to put a lot of gear on there as well. This model of the Mars 2.0 has a 1,000 watt rear hub motor with 1,800 watts of peak power and a reported 100 newton meters of torque. There's also a 750 watt model with 1,400 watts of peak and 80 newton meters of torque that's available for $200 less. The battery on this bike is a UL certified 48 volt 12.5 amp hour battery, and the battery has a physical switch to turn it on and off, and also a USB-A port that you can attach to it for charging up some of your other accessories. Now the seat itself lifts up like that to be able to access that battery and pull it out. And unlike some other bikes that I've tested, there really is no wobble on this one. Other bikes I've tested with this kind of seat wobbled quite a bit, and I'm thankful to report that this Heybike Mars 2.0 does not suffer from that. It has a 7-speed Shimano transmission with a right thumb lever throttle. It has those great faux leather ergonomic hand grips that really make it comfortable for long riding. And it does have a 65 millimeter front fork suspension system. Both of these tires are 20 by 4 inch with anti-puncture tires, so hopefully you won't get any flats on them. And that saddle is very comfortable, as I mentioned before, and it does have a little suspension seat post underneath there to make it even more comfortable for riding. There are 180 millimeter hydraulic disc brakes on this model. I understand on the earlier Mars model, those were mechanical brakes. These are hydraulic disc brakes, and it stops very, very fast, which is great to see. It does support up to 28 miles per hour with an advertised range of 45 miles, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in depth. There's a very bright front LED light on the front and a brake light on the back that flashes when you're braking. The color LCD is very brilliant with some key stats, And the one thing is this bike supports a rider height of 5'3" to 6'1". I'm just over 6'1", and that is one area where this bike really isn't a good fit for me because I'm a little bit too tall to ride this bike. And as I mentioned earlier, that battery is UL certified, but this whole bike is UL 2849 certified, which is the electrical system for the bike that certifies the drivetrain, the battery, and the charger system. So taking a little closer look at this vivid color display on here, there's two left controllers. The left one is for the light and the horn, and what's interesting is both of those things function whether the battery switch is off or on, which bothers me a little bit because I sometimes accidentally hit the light when I'm folding it up and it turns it on. If you don't catch that, you may drain your battery. So be careful with the light and the horn. Obviously the horn is pretty obvious, but the light can turn on as well with no battery activated. And then on the just to the right of that left controller, there's another controller that has a bottom button for the power. You press and hold that to turn the power on for the display, and then a plus and minus that are very large, you know, of course, to go up and down on pedal assist. And then there's two buttons on the right side. The upper one will switch between the different metrics on the display, you know, the odometer, max speed, battery voltage, things like that. And then the bottom right button actually dims the display. A little light indicator shows up on the display that will not turn the light on. It just controls the dimness of the display itself. So lots of easy controls there on that display panel. There's also an iOS and Android smartphone application called Heybike that connects to the bike, and when you turn it on and the bike is turned on, it flawlessly finds that bike and allows you to connect to that. And what's great about that smartphone app is it has some really advanced customization options. So where you can set up the pedal assist levels, you can have it from 1 to 3, 1 to 5, 0 to 5, 0 to 3. You can really limit what appears for the user, which could be a good thing for a new user or somebody who you want to control a little bit of what their experience is, because this bike is pretty powerful. There's also settings for throttle speed limits, so you can set those limits for pedal assist 1 to 5, a pedal assist limiter, and there's even a listing of local bike shops that support the Heybike e-bike. So if you have any trouble with that, you can go take your bike into one of those authorized shops. I highly recommend that you install and download this Heybike app. It is also useful as a bike computer. Of course, you got to find a place to mount it on these handlebars. They're already pretty full. But if you were to use your smartphone as a bike computer, it would give you the navigational view, the mapping, and it gives you the stats for your rides, so you can collect all those stats for your bike rides. As I mentioned at the beginning of this review, this is a folding fat tire bike, and it folds in 3 ways. The first thing you're going to want to do is fold up those pedals so they're tucked away. And these are metal pedals, which are very nice, a little bit slick in the wet, but you fold those pedals up, you release the latch on the front handlebar, lower the handlebar down, release the latch on the center of the bike and fold it in half, and then you can rest that bike down on the center small little kickstand so that it can safely be stored or put into the back of a car or something like that to go out and experience rides. Now let's get into a few of my riding experiences. And regular viewers know that I live on a hill and I ride many hills in this area. One of the main hills to get into my neighborhood is about 13 to 15% incline. I figured with this bike, with that 1,000-watt motor and the 100 Newton meters of torque that are reported, that if I rode up that main hill, I could probably throttle that all the way up that hill. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. I put the throttle on, it made it up, I don't know, about a third of the way, and it went all the way down to 5 miles per hour, and it was getting ready to stop. So I went ahead and kicked in pedal assist mode and was able to get back up to 9 miles per hour as I shifted down, and I used pedal assist 5. So not quite as much power and torque to get me up that big hill as I expected. I did ride it on a few other hills and it does pretty well. It does get very fast, so if you get run up to that hill, you may get a little bit further, but straight from a stop to the hill, it doesn't quite have that power. Now talking a little bit about throttle only mode. The throttle, as on most bikes, does not function at all when you're in pedal assist level 0. So that's kind of nice. When you put it in pedal assist level 0, you know that the throttle is not going to kick in. Now again, you can control that throttle experience with the smartphone application. In pedal assist level 1 or higher, you get full throttle access. So it doesn't matter what pedal assist level you have chosen, you will get the full throttle experience. And that means up to 28 miles per hour or even more when you control that throttle experience. So you get plenty of throttle with this bike. There is no cruise control or anything else like that. So when you press this thumb, you do have to hold down and keep holding down on that thumb throttle to get you into throttle mode. And in throttle only mode, I measured about 30 miles of range, which exceeded what I thought it would provide even with my 235-pound weight. Most of my riding, especially for commuting, is on flat ground. And most of the time when I have these kind of bikes, I use them with pedal assist. So I used about the same level of effort, and I achieved these speeds with pedal assist level. With pedal assist 1, I was able to get about 15 miles per hour. Level 2 was 16 to 17 miles per hour. Level 3, 19 to 20 miles per hour. Level 4, 23 to 24. And level 5, 28 miles per hour plus. And the bike moves very well with pedal assist and lots of power. And in my testing, I measured nearly 40 miles of range in pedal assist 1 to 3, and the advertised range is up to 45 miles. So I would say that range is pretty accurate for the test person that they're using, and it exceeded a little bit more of my expectations as well. The last little riding test I like to do with these kind of e-bikes is what happens if the battery dies and I have to ride this bike with no battery assist. So you can either turn the bike off completely or put it at pedal assist 0. This is a 75-pound bike, as I mentioned, but I was able to get about 9 to 11 miles per hour. I would do that for a couple miles, no problem. The tires are nice and easy to pedal along with. I do have the seat up to the max when I'm pedaling, so my legs are fairly extended, but it can easily get me home if I need to. Now, up hills is a different story. If I had to ride this bike with the 75 pounds up hills, I would be walking that bike. So now after riding this bike for a week, I do have some pros and cons. I do like this handy cover that they have for cable management on the front. It kind of brings all of these cables together, and it provides some protection and a cleaner look to the bike as well. I do like the folding metal pedals. They tend to last quite a while. However, right now we're experiencing some rainy conditions, and I've been riding it in the rain, and they can be a little bit slippery depending on the shoe that you're wearing. I really like the faux leather ergonomic hand grips. I love these ergonomic hand grips that have some palm support. And I do like the controls that they have, except not all of them. I also like the reliability and build quality of the bike and the way that it does fold up very easily and that has a very comfortable seat. Now, some areas for improvement. That assembly, as you can see in my unboxing, took a little bit more effort than I anticipated, and that center handlebar nut underneath the folding center post was a bit awkward to try to tighten. The front light and fenders on these kind of bikes are always a bit of a pain when there's one single bolt and then you're trying to manage a couple of tools at the same time to tighten that up. As I mentioned, I don't like that the light and the horn activate with no power. That's just something to be aware of. And surprisingly, the bike did not deliver the power that I expected for going up hills. When I saw a 1,000-watt motor with 100 Newton meters of torque, I expected it to get me a throttle mode all the way up that hill, and it didn't happen. So that disappointed me a little bit. The Heybike Mars 2.0 is available for $1,099, and there may be some Black Friday specials, so keep an eye on the Heybike website. It's available in this pumpkin orange, dusty blue, granite gray, and leather black. There is a Black Friday gift pack that looks to include a hat, shirt, keychain, and a cable lock. And there's also many other accessories you can buy for this bike, including a front basket, a rear basket to go on this rear rack, a phone mount, and more, including some of those accessories that can attach to that rear rack. The Heybike Mars 2.0 is a solid competitor in that folding fat tire space. I'm a bit tall for the bike and just at the upper limit of the suggested range, so it's not really a bike for me in my daily commuting. It does have lots of power and solid range on flat terrain, and it struggles a little bit more than anticipated up the steep hills. It's built very well, it folds up easily, and it's a beast of a bike. The smartphone app is one of the best I've ever used with a bike thanks to its fine control over the bike settings. It serves as a nice bike computer for your bike, as well as allowing you to really control what the riding experience is with the throttle and the pedal assist. Overall, I would recommend the Mars 2.0 if you're looking for a fat tire e-bike, and especially stay tuned for different specials and discounts that may be available. Thank you everybody for watching. Please subscribe and share, interact with me here, and stay tuned for more coverage of e-bikes, wearables, and other mobile technology. May the mobile force be with you.